obviously don't have this need. Like most women are happy to get themselves dressed and would be kind of weirded out, if not upset, if a man in their life got them dressed, right? So most women don't obviously have this need. So it wouldn't be an element of containment or caretaking of her well-being in order to do this. Another example would be something like a little girl doesn't need sexual intimacy from a father, but a woman, the picture of her well-being often does involve sexual intimacy. Little girl can't be attended for any amount of time. Many women are okay being left unattended for sections of time, some more than others, right? What else? Plenty of women are able to drive vehicles and enjoy doing so, and little girls can't do that. When it comes to little girls, there's going to be no shared responsibilities. When it comes to your relationship with a woman, there are likely to be shared responsibilities relative to the elements of life. What else? Oh, a little girl often can't tell you with her words what is best for her or what's going on with her when she's upset, whereas a woman is likely to be able to do that in a direct way. And beyond that, is most likely going to have an emotional awareness that is beyond most men. Okay. What else? Oh, little girls. Little girls are not usually fulfilled by having a profession, but many women are fulfilled by having a profession. And so obviously, to accommodate for her profession, and maybe if she's bringing in money, if she wants to be doing that, then that's going to be a picture of that woman's well-being versus another woman, right? Okay, so obviously, the ways that these qualities of containment express are going to be different based off of whatever you're containing, and that includes a girl versus a woman. The reason why this answer may frustrate you is that there's no actual hard line for what it is that you're asking the question about. Like you're looking to find a hard line between this difference between masculine containment for a woman, how it should be for a woman versus how it should be for a little girl. And why there is not going to be that like hard line there is because relationships with women or relationships in general are such an incredibly dynamic thing. And they're so unique to the specific person that you're in a relationship with. So is the picture of containment, obviously, then, based off of whatever woman that you're with. So what you're going to see here is that unlike that constant parenting role, a man-to-woman role is likely to adapt and to shift over time based off of circumstances, based off of individual strengths, even based off of things like stages of life. I'll give you an example of what I mean. So most women, unlike little girls, practice self-care, right? They can put on their own clothes, they can brush their own teeth, they can brush their own hair, they can make their food, right? But what if your partner has an illness? What if your partner has a disability? What if your partner has just given birth? What if you're getting into a relationship with a woman who has a caretaker fetish? Okay, well, then obviously it's going to look a little different in that relationship, isn't it? What else? Oh, and what I wanted to say about that is that she's still a woman, right? When you see these differences in the relationship, in an adult relationship between a man and a woman, it's not like you look at that woman, like the ones I just described, and you're like, oh, it's a little girl now. No, it's still a woman. She's just got different needs at that particular time or because of her preferences in the relationship. What else? Okay, another example is some women do not want a profession, right? It does not make them happy to have a profession in any way, shape, or form. They would only be happy by having a financial provider in the way that the world is today. Well, we don't look at those women and say, oh, she's a child. No, she's a woman with a preference, right? So there's no hard line for, you know, girl means no, like total financial dependence. Woman means no financial dependence. You see what I mean? That's why this is going to get so difficult. Okay, I'm gonna think of one more example for you, just to make this make more sense. Oh, let's say that there's one woman who has experienced a high degree of unsafety in her life. Well, that is a woman who is going to have a much higher need for safety in her relationship with a man, and therefore the level of containment that is necessary for this woman is going to be way higher than for other women. It's going to be like, okay, well, she doesn't go anywhere by herself, potentially. And we don't look at that woman and say, oh, she's a little girl then. No, she's just a woman with a preference. So you kind of get the point, right? Like some women have no problem whatsoever not having a lot of physical vicinity. Other women, they like really can't do without it. Okay, why this is important is that you really got to figure out your own strengths and your own weaknesses, your own deal breakers. These are the compatibility points, right? Because what one man can say yes to, other men can't say yes to. And it's really painful in a relationship, quite frankly, when the elements of containment that a certain woman need are not something that a certain man is willing to provide. And when she's under-resourced, meaning that there's not a lot of creativity in their life for how she can get those needs met elsewhere. That being said, now that you understand that there's no hard line there, it's very, very important to get to know the unique woman who is in front of your face. Why? So that you can express your containment in a way that is uniquely right for that woman specifically. I hope that makes sense. I think we're ready for.
Okay, our next question.
Yeah.
Our next question is from a man named Daniel Sammy.
Okay.
His question is it healthy for the man to express how he is actually feeling when he's suffering, provided that he is grounded and responsible, of course, or should he not let his women know about that? Should he pretend that he's okay or avoid closeness when life gets hard because he's afraid she will think he's weak? Isn't that a hindrance to love and intimacy? Thanks.
And here we have, this is ironically a chapter out of that's a chapter that I actually wrote. You guys, it's called The Vulnerability Conundrum. This is a chapter in my new e-course because this is such a big deal for men. Why? Because let's get clear. Men are being fed a massive, massive, massive mixed message. Like so bad. Okay, so the message is this. You need to be vulnerable, especially with regards to showing your emotion. On the other hand, you need to be strong and you need to keep it together, and if you don't do either, there are serious consequences. Now, so as a man, you want to understand that you are being given this mixed message. We don't want to gaslight you about this. But let's weave our way through this mixed message to see what's really going on, because a lot of women are going to get you even more confused by just trying to side with one being the truth versus the other, and then you're going to see a kind of indication that it's not actually true or real, that it's just one side, and then you're going to get really frustrated, right? So like if a woman say tells you, look, you can be completely vulnerable and I want you to be completely vulnerable, and then 10 seconds later she's like melting down and seems to want you to be strong and in your masculine, you're going to be like, well, which is it? Man, you 10 seconds ago you said it was this. All right, so here's how we start to weave through this, right? Women want to feel connected to you, right? They really want to feel emotionally safe with you as well. They can't feel connected to you if you are not connected to your own emotions. So it's very, very important for a man to be deeply connected to and aware of his own emotions. It's also not possible for a woman to feel connected to you if you're not bringing those emotions and sharing your inner world. Let's make it, it's just beyond emotions, right? It's sharing your inner world and what is really happening with you, even at an emotional level, with her. A woman needs that in order to feel connected to you, right? But a woman bases her sense of safety off of the men around her, right? She's looking to men to indicate to her whether she's safe or unsafe, and this is especially the case when she is in a primary relationship with a man. So, just like a clamshell and the clam, right? Her primary need is for you to provide this sense of safety and this sense of security in this world. Well, to feel a sense of safety and security in the world, she needs to experience you as strong, right? She needs to experience you as secure. So what happens when you share your raw and your vulnerable insecurities with her, it starts to make her feel insecure. Why? Because it has implications for her. And this is what most men are not particularly attuned to, which is why it backfires when they share these raw emotional states. What you want to be doing is to be very careful when you are sharing things as a man with a woman that have negative implications for a woman. And when I'm working with men in their relationships, there doesn't seem to be a lot of attunement to whatever they're sharing might mean or could mean for her. That's the lack of awareness of usually emotional insafeties that's to blame for that. So here's the rule of thumb as a man. A woman can handle you expressing these things and will in fact welcome it. So long, so here's a huge so long as you, number one, do not drop containment, right? And number two, reassure her that there's no negative implications in terms of what you're sharing for her. You kind of get that, right? So like as a man, what you're looking to do is not to drop that primary role of ensuring her safety and security. So you might be wondering right now, okay, it's straightforward as a man, like, oh, I can share whatever I want as long as I'm like out ahead of her fears, right? And as long as all of those elements of containment, like I'm not just dropping them, right? It's not like, oh no, I feel so insecure in this moment, so I can't protect you. Oh no, I feel so incredibly vulnerable that I can't be responsible. That's what's going to make a woman melt down, right? Drop containment and you expressing raw fears and insecurities that have an implication for her. So straightforward, I take care of that as a man. Now, where does this leave you when what is going on with you is that you have insecurities or fears that you feel like you can't reassure her about? Now, every man is going to get into this type of a position in his lifetime where he's like, oh no, like there's something serious going down and I've got all these insecurities. And because of me having all these insecurities, like I'm in a situation where a lot of this does have implications for her. And I like don't know how to deal with those insecurities or basically reassure her that there's not implications. When this is the case, you've got two things to go to. The first is you want to caretake your own fears and insecurities. These are caretaking your own vulnerabilities. And this is an empowering thing for a man, right? What that means as a first step is that you're going to do an exercise where you imagine that you are in like a dark room. And you're going to mentally ask to see, sense, or feel the aspect of you that feels that rawness, that insecurity, that vulnerability. And you're going to have that show up as kind of like an image. If some of you don't work well with images, this is a process that doesn't have to be highly visual. It can be something that you like sense or feel, like kind of a knowing, an impression. Okay, but let's work with it as if it's an image. Let's say that you see yourself as like a little boy in that moment who's sort of cowering in the corner. What you're going to do is like an internal meditation where you go over to this little boy self and you're going to pick up that little boy, you're going to introduce love to that little boy, and you're going to start to problem solve and meet the needs of that child self. It may not present as just a child, by the way, it can present as anything. But you're going to do basically the same thing. Based off of how it shows up and what you sense in it, you're going to then start to do some need meeting around that aspect of yourself. Now, this is going to cause your escalate, a sort of emotional escalation to come down a bit. Second to that, you're going to get support from other men. I cannot stress enough how important it is for men to get support by other men. So critical, so incredibly critical that you get support by other men. Because other men have this capacity to hold you in that extreme level of insecurity and fear where it just feels like you can't hold yourself together because it doesn't have negative implications for them. And even if it did, you know, they're in the role of basically having to provide safety, and that's their kind of role in general. They're not going to struggle with it, okay, the way that a woman might. But going even outside of women, in general, anybody that you're not in a romantic relationship with and haven't partnered up with is going to suffer less consequences for everything you do. It's the reason why when you go to a therapist, you can tell her, I just don't feel like I can provide as a man. I don't feel adequate. Okay, well, guess what? That has serious implications for a woman that you're dating, but it doesn't have serious implications for a therapist. So the open door for not having to limit it entirely to men and men's groups is that potentially you can get assistance from a woman who is in a sage position who is not directly impacted by whatever it is that you are sharing in terms of insecurities. You're going to go to them to hold that thing so that what happens is when you come back and I don't want to say come back. When you go to the woman in your life to share yourself, You're able to share the fear and the insecurities, the things that have implication for her in a contained way, meaning that they accommodate for her fears and her insecurities and the consequences that could come down on her. Why I just caught myself there and said I don't want to say to come back is because it's very important to not do this thing where you're going away from the person and in order to get yourself support. More, I want you to think about it as bringing support in. And it's really imperative that you do that quickly. It's not an option to sort of distance yourself from your partner, create that train wreck that is emotional disconnection, and just keep her on a hook till the day that you can get support with this. It's really got to be like a proactive pulling in as much as you can for yourself so as to be able to really be there for her in this contained way. So what else? So you're looking to basically share your truth while still containing her and also including reassurance. What else? Oh, as a man, right? As a man, you want to be strong. You want to feel your power. It is not strong and it is not powerful to run away from emotions, right? It's weak to constantly run away from, avoid, suppress, and deny emotions. We've got to start to flip this script in our head because, the more that we ourselves and the society itself sees emotions as weakness, the more in trouble we actually get, and not only in our relationships, but in the structure of society itself. What else? Oh, I did want to mention that sometimes as a man, you're going to have to share things that do have a negative implication on a woman. You want to do so in as contained a way as you possibly can do, and accommodating for the sort of major consequences, because you've still got to hold that sort of protecting her is your job here, right? But some men fall into this real shadow with this, where they don't share anything that does have a negative implication on a woman. In fact, they love to gaslight her about it. And this is extremely dangerous. It's very, very dangerous. Like sometimes women have to be aware, very aware of things that have serious implications for her in order to stay safer, right? Because you can get them into even more trouble if you don't share those types of things. So part of providing good containment for a woman is to really have an attunement to whether that is the case or not. Okay, so it's far simpler when you think of it like I can share myself and really should, and a woman wants me to. I just can't drop containment, and I need to be out ahead of the negative implications for her regarding what I share. And when a man is able to do that in relationship, they've got the intimacy, they've got the emotional closeness, and she's still got respect for him. She's still looking at him like he's super strong, in fact, more so. And there's no longer this incredible drowning in mixed message experience that so many men are having today. That was long-winded, sorry.
No, that was great. All right, we're actually going to be bringing on our first person live. So Rajiv, if you can unmute yourself and start your video and ask Teal your question.
Uh, Hi. Hi, Teal. Thank you for this opportunity. I would say that I'm a big fan and I've binged on your content like it's a Netflix super hit. So,
I love that.
yeah. So, my question, Teal, is as a man, how do I lead without being too pushy and like without staying firm on my stance, but not overstepping the boundaries of other people? And since this is a practice and I'm not perfect, if that happens, how do I reconcile the situation without negatively affecting the relationship? Thanks.
Okay. Okay, let's do the first part of that question. It was like a two-part question, right? Okay, so the first part of that question is about, would you consider yourself somebody who's like got a very strong sense of self and a strong sense of what he wants and needs?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Have you noticed that when it comes to good leadership, what's really important is to enroll somebody in your vision? When I say that, does it kind of make sense to you what I mean? To enroll
It makes
somebody
sense.
into your vision?
It makes sense to me now. I was missing that part.
Okay. So what you've got to do with when you're in a relationship with a woman is you've got to enroll her in your vision, but in a way where you're also very much aware, going back to the question I just answered, very much aware of what her preferences are and what her fears are. So you're kind of weaving them in, right? Another person is not going to have an issue going along with what you're suggesting unless it somehow opposes their best interests. And if it does oppose their best interests, then what you've got to do is to figure out why and how it opposes their best interest, not to try to convince them that it doesn't. Like if I'm in your shoes as a leader, I'm trying to be like, wait, I may not see something. And obviously, if a person is kind of balking at this and they're not wanting to go with me on this, then there's something I need to understand. So what I do in those moments, if you're a good leader, you're just going to do this. You're going to sit back and you're going to really try to understand. So rather than bulldoze through, you're going to invite. You're going to be like, okay, give me this answer, give me that answer. Like any question you could possibly ask to try to get information. It's different than a question that is asked to try to manipulate somebody into giving in, right? Because what will happen is the person will give you whatever information. It's going to be a bit of information that tells you, this is why they're resisting this. And then it's very simple. It's about troubleshooting that. So, either there is a way to troubleshoot it, something like, I don't want to do this because I feel like XYZ. Well, then I'm going to take it upon myself to make sure that, XYZ is not a problem, right? But if let's say that we go even beyond this and it's like a hard stop because truly like their best interest and mine are going in completely different ways. And so there's no kind of way for me to create this creative option of how to accommodate for either their fears or their preferences within the context of what I'm wanting to do. If it's like a hard stop, we got to go in this different direction. Then where I start to go with that as a leader is a conversation around a win-win scenario. And it's not going to probably be the best case scenario, which is them coming along with me and whatever my vision is. It's going to be, okay, well, how do I make it so that, whatever I'm wanting, really wanting, can happen, and whatever they're really wanting can happen. And it's what we're looking for is the highest and best option in that scenario, right? The more, I will tell you something, the more that you do what I'm describing, which is not bulldozing at all, right? It's just good leadership. The more that you do what I'm describing, the more trust that people are going to have in you because they should trust you. It's not that you're like manipulating them to trust you. You're literally behaving in a trustworthy way. You're basically saying, hey, I care about your best interests. Your best interests are my concern. And I see it as my job. This is really how to get a woman to be in a good space with you. I see it as my job, in fact, to make you feel like your well-being is my concern. So the more you behave like that, the more you speak like that, the more you act like that, the more trust that this woman's going to give you. And you're not going to have to get this constant feeling where it's like, oh no, in order to get what I want, I need to bulldoze through somebody, right? You come from India, right? Or somewhere else?
Yes, I'm from India.
Okay. So India is a place where enmeshment is basically the baseline for human experience, right? And by enmeshment, what I mean is that it's a place that doesn't really recognize boundaries very well. And when I say boundaries, what I mean is a person's sense of self, like personal needs, preferences, aversions, their thoughts, their feelings, whatever makes a person a person. We could even get deeper into boundaries there. But the reason why this is such a struggle oftentimes, it's not a struggle only in India, but I'm saying it's why this is a special struggle in the culture that you come from, is that when children are born into households, there's an attitude of you belong to me in that I'm going to decide what is right for you and what's not right for you. Oh, did you just set a boundary about not being hungry? Too bad. The spoon is in your mouth, right? It's just like it's like a full frontal attack all the time of you not being able to have a sense of self because you really exist to please your elders there, right? Well, unfortunately, that's the baseline for relationships is what somebody has experienced in their childhood. That's what sort of teaches them this is the way that we relate to each other. And so what starts to happen is instead of really learning how to have a healthy me and a healthy you and how we can do this dance back and forth together so that both of our best interests are considered, it's a very much like give and take type of a dynamic where it's like in this moment you win, fine, I'm just going to pout. But while I'm pouting, I'm just going to tell myself all kinds of stories that kind of shut myself down and tell myself why I should be fine with this. And, it's like an internal fight. Or it's I won, and then the other person's not in a fabulous mood about it. And we wish that they were really excited doing whatever it is that we wanted them to do, but they're not. So what you're dealing with here in terms of this question makes perfect sense based off of where, the type of culture that you were raised in. Okay, so staying with that, do you have any questions based off of what I described in terms of positive leadership before we move to the second part of this?
No,
You get it?
I get it.
Okay. So the second part of this question, remind me if I'm right. That was okay. The second part of this question was about
If
remind.
I overstep my boundaries with
Okay, yeah.
others, or at least I believe I did it, how do I reconcile the situation so that I'm not negatively affecting myself or my masculinity or the other person or my relationship with that person?
Okay. You would only be negatively affecting your masculinity in that moment if you were going up and underneath trying to please them like a little boy. Now, this is something that gets really difficult when it comes to the sort of mastering of polarity, because in the very beginning, what I'm saying, this nuance about being in boy energy or man energy, seems really complicated and kind of like it's not a big difference. But you'll see when you start to go down this road of like practicing healthy masculinity, it's like it's a difference between this side of the ocean and the other side of the ocean. Okay. And it's all about mentality. What mindset am I in as a man who is approaching a woman? Am I in the mindset of, oh no, somebody's mad at me. I've got a rupture in the relationship. Now I'm unsafe. Now I need to come in and like do whatever, almost pandering, do whatever it takes to say I'm sorry and make amends so that you're pleased with me. That's little boy energy. So that is going to be how you destroy your masculinity in the moment. What's not going to destroy your masculinity is to come in at it with a mentality of like, I made a misstep regarding this thing that is in my care. Right? See the mentality difference? It's in my care. So if something is in my care, then you're looking to help it feel better in the way, like, I don't want to compare women to little children, but it's usually easier for men to understand this. It's not like when the child is upset, you're coming in towards a child with an attitude of, I need to come please my child or else I'm in some kind of a consequence train. You're coming at it with like, okay, it is my responsibility to repair this rupture. It's my responsibility to make this woman feel better with me. So with that mentality in mind, thinking of yourself sometimes as the clamshell with a clam inside of it helps. Then you're going to come at it with, from that mentality and say something in the line of an acknowledgement first. Women need their pain to be acknowledged. It's just a very good trick and a tip to have as a man in your little back pocket. She will come towards you when you indicate that you understand the full picture of what is going on, what happened, the impact on her, and your role in that impact. So you're going to outline that for her. You're also going to say, I don't like that this is the way that you feel. It's not an acceptable standard for me. Not for her. Very important as a man, because a lot of men are trying to live up to the standards that women have for them in the relationship. No. Men should be setting their own standards for their own conduct. Hopefully it aligns with what the woman is expecting. But But if I'm a man and I'm walking in on, I've created a rupture, that's what I'm going to say. I'm going to give her an indication that I'm not okay. And it's not up to my standard for myself in this relationship, the way that that whole thing went down. And I don't want it to happen again. So then again, I'm going to start to ask for information because what's going to happen again, though, like a woman really wants to be understood so that she knows that she's safe, so she knows you get hers, because that is what makes a woman safe, knowing that you get what happened and get her. And that means you're going to appropriately respond to what is the reality in the situation. So again, I'm going to start to ask more questions. I'm going to first try to demonstrate an understanding without having to ask questions, but I'm also going to be like, did I miss anything? Was there any other aspect of this that hurt you? Is there a way, are you aware right now of a way that you would wish I would have handled this differently? If I'm in your position as a man, I might even say something like, I've got my own ideas about this, but I'm definitely interested as to what you would think. If I ask you the question, how would you want me to have handled this differently? What is your answer? Now, most women can answer that question, right? So then all you're going to do is to insert what you're going to do differently going forward. This is what you can expect. This is what you can expect of me going forward. This is what you can rely on. This is how it's going to be different, right? When you create a rupture around something, a woman doesn't want to have it happen again. So you're going to give her an indication as to how it's not going to happen again, why it's not going to happen again, and how she can rely on that. But then that next step, this is always the case for men. We're going to go back to this follow through, follow through, follow through, follow through. Like tattoo it on your own internal forehead, because you cannot falsely reassure a woman without demolishing trust. So if you're going to reassure a woman that she's going to have a different experience, she better have a different experience. Otherwise, it's a double injury, and it in fact reopens the previous wound you think you closed. Okay. But if you do all those things that I'm describing, which it's not as complicated as a lot of men are making it, and it's not as complicated even as it sounds when I'm saying it right now, because I'm just breaking it down in this very concrete way. But when you get into it and you do this type of a thing, repair happens quite quickly. And repair can turn into something that builds trust and actually makes it so that a woman gives you more respect and even wants to follow you more. Sexy. Okay, do you have any questions involving any of what I just said?
No, it was great. Like I got the message loud and clear. It was very helpful, tremendously helpful. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Rajiv. Next, we have Avery. If you can unmute yourself and ask your question. You just need to start your video. Can you hear us, Avery? All right, if not, I'm gonna ask Julia if you could come live, please. You're gonna start your video and unmute yourself.
Hi, Teal.
Hello.
Oh my God, I feel bad for Avery now. I feel like I took their spot.
That's okay.
Okay, um, I'm going to read out my question. My question is, what can I do to release my cynicism and distrust towards men? It's so hard for me to shake to the degree that I'm sure I'm better off by myself, although I would love to experience a healthy relationship as an adult, at least once in my life. It's been 16 years, and I feel like I'm not a fully grown human or woman because of this. I'm slowly coming to terms with the fact that because of my abusive father, I feel deeply rooted fear and distrust of men. I've never been able to see men as safe and have therefore had mostly unhealthy relationships. I think I harbor no hard feelings toward them, but I can't make it to the other side either. Please help.
Okay, so the first thing to help you with is you harbor all kinds of negative feelings towards them. So,
That's good to
yeah.
hear.
Um, okay, to get to the other side of this, cynicism is a self-protective mechanism, right?
Mhm.
Have you recognized yet how cynicism helps you to avoid pain or no?
Yes, and what you said last night about thoughts as well, that really rang true.
Oh, it's going to ring true far more than you are aware of right now. So, okay, so cynicism is something that protects us from disappointment.
Mhm.
So something to know is that it's important when it comes to men to really identify the type of unsafety that you're feeling.
Mhm.
Because we can, and it's not like super uncommon that you're doing this. We can get into situations, all people, when we're facing unsafety, where we sort of generalize it. I feel unsafe. Well, what is it that feels unsafe? Because ironically, what makes you feel unsafe with a man or about a man or the type of traumas, of course, this is what it links to that you've had, are not the same as potentially another woman. In your whole, you don't realize this yet, but in your whole question, so much of that unsafety that you're discussing is disappointment.
Yeah.
Being let down, being let down, being let down,
Yeah.
being let down again, being let down again. That makes it easier, even if you're into this type of self-growth stuff, when you are able to localize your fear in that way, because obviously dealing with generalized fear is different than dealing with issues around disappointment, chronic disappointment.
Mhm.
The big issue that we've got with you and men is that you are so committed to protecting yourself from disappointment that there's no part of you that wants to try it again. And that like that, honestly, the fact that it's been so long and you haven't entered back into a situation, given that disappointment is the wounding, does not really surprise me.
Mhm.
Because as you know, when you've been let down multiple times, to ever get yourself into a position where you could be let down again, it's like it's a risk beyond measure.
Yep.
So that's why you feel this chokehold around your neck is like not you're really not decided. It's like you have not decided whether you would like to put yourself in a position to potentially be disappointed again. Do you feel that?
Absolutely, yeah. What would help me in making that decision?
It's really about whether the potential on the other side is big enough or wanted enough to take a risk.
Mhm.
Well, I should say it's about that and working with what you saw yesterday. And so aptly identified yourself, which is locating the belief that is ruining your life here and is making you a match, in fact, to men who chronically disappoint. I can help you work through that one in a minute. But first I want to sort of keep you here before we go there because I need to kind of get you to a place where you're willing to loosen up your resistance a little bit or decide that it's pointless to work on this because like why work on it if you know what I mean? Where for somebody to take a risk, there has to be something that is wanted enough on the other side. And that's what I don't have a good feeling for with you because it's like you say, I would love to have a healing experience with a man, but it's like there's also this whole other kind of message that you're sending
Mhm.
intentionally or unintentionally, which is like, I'm okay enough without them.
Yes. Yep. Um, I think through therapy this year or last year as well is sort of like the first time that I didn't feel that it's my fault that nobody wants to be with me. I've learned that there's a reason for me being on the defense. So I started feeling a little bit more content with being on my own for the first time, I would like to think, this year, without harboring hard feelings, which I now learned is not true. But yeah. But yeah. Okay. Well, I think the question is also like, what's on the other side that I would want? I kind of like have a certain fear in me to think that if I always have to stay in my masculine energy because I don't have that male containment, or I think I don't have it because I think I can only get it in a relationship, I wonder if it'll make me sick at some point.
Well,
Whether
I
it,
mean, if you feel into your body right now, what does it feel like? Do you feel like you're okay? Does it feel like your body is armored? Does it like, what does it feel like? If I say without that
well,
containment.
well, I feel really nervous because I'm speaking to you, but actually, I feel quite in my feminine today. Yeah, I feel quite good. I feel sexy and open,
What about in your life
vulnerable.
in general? I mean, rather than today.
It comes in and out, I think, but I miss feeling a little bit more vulnerable and open. I feel like I'm closing off quickly because this is my safe space. But yeah, both leaning towards masculine or armored, if that's what you want to call it.
The question
Do you
that I
think
feel
thoughts
kind
on
of
that?
guided to ask is, to what degree do you feel like you're limiting your life because of not having masculine containment?
Mm. I don't feel like I'm limiting it a lot at the moment, but I also don't know what is on the other side. So I don't know what I could miss or what I could be missing out. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah. This is so what I'm doing is I'm poking around this sort of letdown dynamic with you.
Hmm.
It's so guarded, just to make you aware, it is so psychologically guarded that to even perceive yourself to lack anything right now is threatening because it means to want for something that could harm you again. So you're correct in saying that the amount of damage that has been experienced by you in relationship is very extreme.
Okay.
Yeah. And I don't want you to kind of like force yourself in the direction of that, right?
What direction to get into a relationship for
Yeah,
the
to like
sake of
force,
it, or
yeah, to force yourself in the direction of like giving somebody a second chance when you are where you are right now is not very smart. It's like there has to be more desire there for it to make sense,
hmm.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. But that being said, want to play?
I was hoping you would ask.
Okay, what I want you to do is I want you to think right now about an image that represents your relationship with men in your adult life. And it just any image, it could be symbolic, who the hell cares? Just give me an image.
Banging against the rock with a hammer. That's the first thing that popped up.
Okay. Explain this, stay with that image, go exactly with what came up, just sort of break it down for me. How do we understand this symbolic image?
No pun intended. It it feels like I'm trying to get somewhere.
Okay.
It's a
You're
lot
trying
of anger. Sorry.
you're trying to get somewhere.
Hmm.
Are you trying to get somewhere or get to something?
Maybe to something.
Do you have any idea where you're trying to get to?
Uh, Something warm.
Okay.
I think of like a warm molten substance in there somewhere.
What do you feel like that warm substance will give you?
A warmth, safety.
Okay, you ready for this? I want you to come up with when I ask for you to see a time in your childhood that felt exactly like this symbolic image, what is the first thing that comes up?
It's where in my dad's living room where he had just moved out. I must have been like maybe 1.5 or 2, and he was playing really loud music. He was probably drunk. But
And
that's
how are
it.
you feeling? How are you feeling in
Singing
that
of
moment? You're going to stay with this image,
me
okay?
as a child.
Yeah.
As a child,
Mm-hmm.
disconnected. I feel like I can't quite grasp my father.
Okay. So here's what are some beliefs when you're as this child in first person perspective, what are some of the thoughts that you're noticing yourself have?
He's somewhere I can't get to.
Okay, ready for this? If he's somewhere that you can't get to, what does that mean about you?
He's cut me out. He's not cut me out, but he's protecting himself or something where he doesn't want me.
There you go. He doesn't want me.
Huh. Mm-hmm.
Okay, he doesn't want me. Why doesn't he want you?
Responsibility. He doesn't want to take responsibility.
That's an
He's too
adult
informed.
answer. That's an adult answer.
Oh, sorry, I'm 2. I forgot. Why doesn't he want me?
Yeah, I'm a child. I'm watching this. Why doesn't he want me? And I don't want you to go looking for the right answer. I want you to actually sit in that first person perspective and think about it. Because you definitely told yourself the story already. You're just becoming aware of it again.
This I'm not interesting enough.
Okay.
His mind, yeah, he's not here. I'm not interesting.
Okay, I'm not
Something I can't
interesting.
give him.
I'm not interesting. I want you to stay with I'm not interesting. What I want you to do is to try to figure out what that thought, I'm not interesting, what it allowed you to do. How did that keep you safer? How did it make things better?
Am I still 2 or now in my life?
You're still 2.
Can you ask the question again, please? Sorry.
I'm not interesting. What does that belief help me to do? How does it make things better when I'm 2 years old? I have an alternative way to get here if you need one.
I just had it, 1 sec. But it's gone, so yes, please.
Pretend you are interesting. If you're super interesting as a person, like you're absolutely fascinating, and because of it, people want you so badly. What is so bad about that in this, given this situation? Like, what bad thing would it mean about the situation, about dad, about your relationship, about whatever?
I feel like he might be angry at me.
Why?
If I was super because I don't know, I feel like I might be seen as competition, strangely enough.
Okay. Okay, so that's the first layer. I'm not interesting allows me to not be a competitive element to my dad.
And that just explained like a ton.
I'm not interesting also allows us to stay close to dad because it's not his fault that he's not paying attention to me, is it?
Yeah. Wow.
It also makes it so that you have a way forward. All you've got to do to be wanted is to do what?
Be uninteresting.
Eh,
Be boring.
no, the
Quiet.
pathway forward is to be interesting.
Oh, sorry. Okay. I do think I'm interesting. I have a very interesting life. I do lots of fun stuff.
Oh, and I'm sure you've made yourself even more interesting since back in the past. What I want you to see is that you're in what you have actually demonstrated is that you're in a bind. Because on the one hand, you feel like people will want you more if you are interesting. But at the same time, if you are interesting, you're a competitive dynamic
Mm-hmm.
for them, and therefore they'll probably push you away. And so it puts you actually in a paralysis.
Yeah. I did have this thought sometime this year where I was like, just you have a competitive nature, go for it. Why not? Be that too. Like lean into this a little bit more.
Potentially, but ready for the next part of this exercise?
Oh, there's more. Okay, yes.
Okay, so at 2 years old, you adopt the belief I'm not interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to see what happens to your life as a result of holding on to this belief. What decisions do you make? How does your behavior change? How does that impact your actions? How does that change the course of your whole life?
Well, looking back on it, I would say that I tried to make myself more interesting by
Mm-hmm.
being loud, being, um, I think boisterous might be the right word, like a
Yes.
tomboy. I was drinking and taking lots of drugs, running around in my bra. I guess maybe I was trying to take something back. Yeah. So lots of uh, unhealthy choices.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see how those unhealthy choices impacted your life.
Yeah.
Notice that the ways that you tried to be interesting were ways that aligned with what Dad would find interesting.
Because he also liked drugs and alcohol. Well, yeah.
Okay, continue. How does it affect your relationships?
Well, they're mainly with men that like alcohol and drugs.
Yeah, super reliable men that won't let you down for sure.
Exactly. Yes. And then a whole array of things like I either was cheated on or I had insane fights. It was only ever like really small. I had one 2 year relationship once, and I always think he was a glitch in the matrix because he was actually an alright guy. But yeah.
Okay, this is the radical part of this entire experience is that you're going to have to look at how one belief has the capacity to alter your entire life path so that you get chronically let down by men.
What is that one belief? That I'm not
I'm not
interesting?
interesting.
I'm gonna write that down. Okay. But obviously, I mean, this belief that I'm not interesting is somewhere deeper than this whole I'm doing fun and interesting things in my life, activities, right?
Well, it
That's
usually is. Yeah, because that's basically the underpinning of it. That's the hard part about recognizing this in ourselves is to realize that we've tried to swing the pendulum, but it's coming from that place. It's like, the person who believes that they're evil is the one who's doing all kinds of good stuff in the world. So, of course, your life isn't going to look like what's actually there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's recognizing that it's actually there that's going to change this whole game for you. And more than that, really got to ask yourself whether you still need it. Is there still a need for this belief?
Mm-hmm.
More than that, what do I have to accept to swallow that this is not true? That I'm not interesting isn't true and wasn't true when I was 2 years old. What do I have to swallow? What's your
Can I
answer?
say what I just thought about this?
Yeah.
My answer is yeah, it's keeping me safe because it deflects like male attention, which I'm terrified of. Okay, how do I get there? How do I get to this core belief? Like, what exercises can I do?
No, we got to it already. We're already there. The core belief is I'm not interesting.
Fine.
It's about
Oh,
whether
okay,
you feel
sorry.
like it's about whether you feel like you still need it.
Okay.
And to sort of look at that, you have to ask yourself the question, if I was, for me at 2 years old, to let go of that idea, meaning to accept it wasn't true at all, what would I have to accept if that was the case?
Mm-hmm.
When I ask you that question, what happens? What's the answer?
What would I have to, sorry, say that again, my brain's a bit fried.
It's okay. What would I have to accept? What would I have to accept if I, at 2 years old, dropped the idea that I'm not interesting? Because we already saw how that's just a belief that you adopted as an adaptive strategy to try to make yourself safer and make the situation better. Uh-oh, it isn't true though. So if I was to accept it isn't true and it's just an adaptive belief that I came up with to try to protect my relationship with dad, what would I have to accept?
Oof. I don't know, maybe that my dad doesn't like me, wouldn't have liked me. My dad doesn't like me, something like that. Yeah, I think I'll have to sit with this for a little bit.
Okay. So I'm going to give you the rest of this exercise so that you can do it on your own terms, right? So you're going to have to sit with that question seriously, because for us to not have a need for a belief anymore,
Mm-hmm.
we are going to have to basically accept whatever we're using that belief to not accept. Truths about dad, truths about the situation, truths about mom. Like the child is always making it about themselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as to not see the people around themselves clearly. When you see everything around you clearly, there's no longer the need for the belief. There needs to not be a need for this belief anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And when that is the case, what you're going to do is you're going to think about, like from your adult life right now, you're going to think about an alternative experience to the one you're having with men. Now, for you, I might, because when I asked you the question, what is bugging you the most, that you gave this answer about kind of like breaking a stone. I've given you all kinds of feedback about disappointment today, but I would rather you just work with that stone image and think about what type of life experience would be the exact opposite of that for you in your adult life now.
Mm-hmm.
What would be the opposite of that experience of breaking the stone? But like in an actual image of you in that life. So if you're like, oh, I can't get to this person because they're always focused on something else, it might be like having a very adoring partner who's super reliable and who's just like super excited to be in a relationship and whatever, right? You just make it really real for you. And then what you're going to do is you're going to bring that little girl who is in that experience, like as a mental meditation, you're going to literally bring her out of that experience watching dad into that adult life experience. And then the two of you in that current life experience are going to take some kind of an image that represents that belief that she has. Maybe it's like I can present however, that's the problem. It's like a child can basically give you the belief in whatever way. It's very symbolic. So
Mm-hmm.
you're going to have her, if she feels ready, give you that belief, and you guys are going to dispose of it in whatever way you need to dispose of it and experience what it is to be in that alternate timeline.
Yes. Okay.
You've got a lot more beliefs where that one came from. But
Yep.
what is going to be so important for you in doing this particular exercise is that instead of it flips the script on the fact that you've been so victimized, because it's true at one level because of what you've lined up with, you've been victimized. It is. At the same time, when you are able to see how the adoption of these coping beliefs beliefs that are a strategic adaptation. The adoption of the belief itself is what puts you on a track to those very experiences. And so it will pull you out of this, the pain you're in with men is like, I don't want to get victimized again. I don't want to get harmed again. And when you start to see that like it's a path you put yourself on to try to make the previous situation, just like everything. I mean, let's be honest, every adaptive strategy we come up with at any point in our life just completely ruins our life, So it's like when you start to see that whole picture, you're going to feel less like a burn victim towards new relationships. And you're going to start to see how getting rid of these old beliefs actually puts you into a whole different vibratory frequency and therefore a different life path. And then you might be like, okay, maybe I feel a little bit open to like maybe what I do want to experience with a man. And then, then it's like the risk is not going to feel like it feels today. I don't want this to feel like you're walking the plank. There should be a good reason for you to go out on a limb. But it will feel like less of a limb when you do this exercise that I have described.
I shall do the exercise.
Okay.
Thank you so much. This was the best Christmas present ever. Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Bye.
All right, thank you so much, Julia. Next, we're going to be bringing on
Are we doing a
Avery.
break?
We can.
It's already 6:12.
Okay. Okay, yes.
I gotta pee.
Okay, let's do a break. Let's do a break. We're gonna do a quick 10-minute break and
Okay, we're doing a quick 10-minute break, and my team is going to be talking to you during that break. So I will be back promptly.
What are we talking to them about?
My team is going to be talking to you about my new course. For those of you that have not heard about this, I have released a new e-course. It's my first e-course specific to relationships. And because of the nature of how human relationships are going, my first target for a relationship course is men. That's good news, by the way. It's empowering for men. Don't tell yourself the story that it's another woman singling out men, okay? All right, they're going to tell you about it. I'll be back.
Hello, it's me again. So yes, I have had firsthand experience with this course as a woman. So I can tell you that, and I can tell you men's experience as well, because we've actually been speaking with so many men and women behind the scenes who have been doing this course, and our team who's been involved in it as well, which is comprised of different men and women. It's been truly something that has brought all of my perspectives about relationships, especially between men and women, to the next level. What I've seen happen with men is the confusion about women completely dissipates, because there's this like sentiment in, I don't know, the more mainstream world of, men are from Mars, women are from Venus, I think is the saying, and how we're just on these completely different planets and men don't know how to understand women. Well, this course breaks everything down so women are very understandable to men, and what women need in a relationship for men is very, very clear as well. So as a woman, the way it's impacted me is, one, feeling such a relief that there's something out there that explains me to people, because I never could put words to many of the feelings that I've had before, or needs that I have in relationships. And what Teal does is she really breaks that down and bridges that gap. So I'll give you just one example, right? There's like a common notion out there that women just want you to listen. They don't want you to solve their problems. They just want you to listen. There's even a viral video about that where there's a woman with a nail in her head. And I don't know if you guys have seen this video, you can look it up, but essentially the guy's like, you have something in your head, like, don't you want to fix it? And she's like, no, it's not about that. It's about something else, right? Teal breaks that down completely, debunks that entire myth, and gives men a really deep understanding of what a woman's actually trying to go for in those situations. So you have teachings like that. You have teachings around sexuality. You have teachings around the ingredients of containment. It's just truly incredible, and the amount of work that Teal's put into this course has next level to a lot of the things I've seen her work on, right? Because What's fun for our team behind the scenes is to get to see her in her, we call it a professor mode, her nutty professor mode, where she's in the lab experimenting and fine-tuning these concepts. And these concepts are something she's been fine-tuning for over a year now. So not only just fine-tuning, but she's pulling in different resources. She's creating different processes for men. We're creating exercises for men. It's really next level. So what I want to do is to tell you a little bit more about that. And I have a slideshow for that just to make it easier to depict all of it. So it's not just me that's been really impacted by this, right? There's some other people who've taken this course who have written in some of their reviews. I'm going to read them to you now. This course gives you everything you actually need to step into your masculinity, and it does it in a way that takes you deeper into yourself instead of pushing you into some stereotype. It's a clear, practical roadmap that helps you build real life skills and move your life forward and genuinely support the women in your world. And for those of you asking in the captions or the comments, if you're wondering if Teal's going to be back, she will be back right after this segment. So just stay tuned. We're going to be answering more questions live. Okay, to continue, another review. This course solves the solutions to all of the relationships with men I've ever been with, including the ones I can see with the man I'm with today. As a woman, I can definitely confirm that I would fall at the knees of any man who truly demonstrates the content of this course. So if you came here for day one, I'm just going to acknowledge, I know that this is a repeat of yesterday, but I want to give everyone a chance to really get the full picture of this course so that you know what it's all about. So just stay tuned. Okay, who is this course for? Men and women. So for men, it's for men who really want to gain clarity, confidence, and direction relative to stepping into their masculinity and their relationships with women. And for women, it's those who really want to understand what they need for men to be in their femininity. So while Teal directs this course to men, women very much benefit from this course as well. Because if you're a woman who maybe is in a relationship with a man, but you don't know how to communicate exactly what you need to men, this is the perfect course for that. And I've seen women who get this course and kind of bring in their partners into this course as well to participate in it with them, and it completely transforms their relationships. So about the course, we have 38 videos, 38 unique videos that Teal created, structured into 8 weeks. So this 8-week structure is something that is optional. Some of our audience really like to consume the course like immediately. So you'll see some people who will just go the whole way through, not necessarily in this structured format. But for those of you that maybe have busier schedules, we've actually segmented the course out into 8 weeks to make it easy for you to go through. We have 20 plus hours of content. Teal details 9 ingredients of masculine containment. We have 16 game changers, 16 relationship game changers, which I'll go into later, 25 exercises, and lifetime access to a community space. Now, this is a very, very valuable part of being able to do this course as well. This is a new feature to our courses actually in the recent years. We've not always had a community space where people who are taking the course can actually connect with one another. But what's been incredible is that the second that we released this course, men and women came together, shared their experiences in their relationships, and shared their experiences with the course as well. It kind of creates this atmosphere and this environment where you can all come together and discuss topics that no one that I know out there in the world understands to the degree that Teal does, and that we will now understand thanks to the course. So key topics discussed inside the course. So obviously you have those 9 ingredients of containment, right? But in terms of the relationship game changers, Teal also goes into topics like why women play hard to get, respect and how to earn it, speaking the language of emotions. No, women don't actually like assholes. The real reason that women cheat and the differences in female sexuality. So for this week, obviously with the Christmas season ahead, we want to offer you guys something that is very special, where you get the course, this new course that we just released, Mastering Masculinity and Relationships, alongside a relationship vault, which is hours and hours of relationship-focused content, not just specific to male-female dynamics, but to all relationships involved. It gives you tools and exercises as well to improve your relationships, as well as a meditation vault, which is comprised of over 49 meditations. And these meditations are not just light meditations, not just like 5-minute meditations. When Teal creates a meditation, it takes you really deep. So I'll give you one example. She can, in one of the meditations, you can connect to your spirit animal, if you're interested in the esoterics. In another one, you can connect to your heart. In another one, you can connect with your future self. There's a whole lot more where that came from. There's healing the masculine wound, replacing the pain meditation. So very, very deep processes that are entailed in that as well. And so for this week, we do have this as a Christmas special offer. If you are not able to do the payment all at once, we also offer payment plans, which is a pay in 3 plan. All right, lastly, these are some reviews from people who have already taken the course and some comments from yesterday. So Irini said that this course is so awesome, so healing. Kevin said he had the course and it was much needed, getting hit hard with deep truths, lots to learn, understand, and integrate, working to build and rebuild connection and trust in relationships. Yuval said, I got the course. This is so precious. This is a topic that matters so much. And this is the stuff I've never got explained by anyone yet in my 50 years as a man, but always bumped into in relationships painfully late and still never found the resolve. Teal really touches the core of what is there to understand and how to do it. Teal, you're amazing, and I'm so grateful for all of your efforts to help us evolve into aligned, authentic, loving beings. Lastly, Job says, the course is brilliant so far. I learned a lot of the concepts already from this book, Masculine and Relationships, but love Teal's take on it and the depth she goes into, especially because she's a great female perspective on it. And Tara said, all women should do this course before having a relationship. So again, like I said, if you have any questions about the course, please message it in the chat. Our team, Colette, Cyan, and Nick will be in there to respond to any of your questions, and I will be as well. But I highly, highly encourage you to do it. It's really just going to enhance your relationships, and it's had such a positive impact on the people in my life, and seeing the women in my life come more into alignment with their femininity with the information in this course, as well as the men as well. So thank you so much for sticking in with us and diving deep into relationships. What I love about all of you is how much you are willing and wanting to go deep. Our team talked about many of you yesterday and how grippy this group is. So please keep on that energy and let us know in the chat, how are you finding this Q&A so far? What questions may have spurred out of the conversations that have happened so far, and who's ready to continue the Q&A with Teal? Let me know in the chats. All right. You guys ready? Ready to get back into it? I'm saying ready. All right, awesome. I'm going to bring Teal back on, and we're going to bring our next person live.
Hello. Okay,
Okay.
let's dive in.
All right, Avery, I'm going to ask you to start your video and unmute yourself.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. I'm nervous, but it's such a good opportunity to speak with you directly because I've spoken with you indirectly many times. So our question is, we have a really strong emotional foundation, and we've created that throughout our relationship. We've been dating for about a year, and I feel like the masculine and feminine polarity is natural between us in that way. But the sexual aspect of our relationship, I feel like there's still kinks on like both of our ends. And I feel like, I guess my question is, how do we help that part of it with the emotional part that we've built in, if that makes sense?
It's extremely abstract.
I know. Okay.
Let's just get way more open. Basically, what is happening? in
Okay.
your sexual dynamic that doesn't work?
We're both just I feel disconnected during it, and I also feel like I I guess it maybe some of it's sexual attraction, or there's something lacking. I don't know. Let me try to think. Um, I just feel so much more connected to him emotionally than I do sexually. And I feel like maybe a part of that is how much I'm able to like trust and receive that type of love physically. But yeah, is it still abstract?
Yeah, it's abstract. So what about on your side? Like what is happening for you in terms of the sexual connection or lack thereof?
Um, I guess the question that we originally had was like, what can we take, or like, how can we kind of take what we have from an emotional aspect to kind of apply it into other aspects of our relationship? I think was
That's still abstract
the
though.
basis of it.
That's not
Yeah,
Yeah.
can I need to explain why that's really abstract. It's like when you say we have a really great masculine feminine dynamic emotionally, that makes no sense what that means practically. And so like there's already
Yeah.
there's an assumption in the question itself, which is that there should be a taking of something that's happening emotionally into the bedroom and that that's going to solve the problems.
Yeah.
And I'm not convinced. So it's like
There should
yeah, I'm not convinced that your emotional connection that you have is going to do anything for you in the bedroom. So I want to understand what it is when you say that we have got a good dynamic emotionally, like
Mhm.
how is it good, first of all, and how is it in polarity?
um I would say from my standpoint, you really take the time to understand me and um I don't know why my mind's going blank. I feel like I have a lot of examples, but I don't know. You invest into understanding me emotionally. You're there for me when I have my upsets and just like help me process with all of that. And I feel like he's really good at doing that. So maybe it's that I'm not doing the part that I'm supposed to be doing with my femininity.
How no, what is it about that that feels polarized to you, like in a good male-female dynamic, the emotional thing you're describing?
Because I feel safe with him and I feel like he actually has my best interest at heart and he's actually considering all of those things and he wants to lead in that way and I feel protected by him emotionally. I do.
Okay, but to what degree do you see him as a man? Like a man? Like
That's a good question. um I think a part of me sees him still as young and learning those things and very willing to learn and very capable of that. But it's not like but I don't feel like I'm in love with the potential of what he could be. Like I genuinely love him as a person and as the man he's becoming.
Okay, so what you're describing is not super abnormal, right?
Mhm.
It's that a man is providing a lot of your so it's different a little bit than what I'm describing with a polarized relationship. Because when a man comes into a relationship with a woman and he's providing emotional safety for a woman, um, it's very different than I feel safe with this guy. It's like I hate that I'm limited to language here because it's like in English we would almost say the same thing. Like I could sit across from one woman who says, I feel safe with this guy, and it's I feel safe as if he's a bunny. And another woman could say, I feel safe with this guy, and it could be like, oh, I've got a dragon who's containing me, who happens to care how I feel.
Mhm.
One you want to fuck, and the other you don't.
Yeah.
That is what is happening.
So what do I do about that?
Like the whole thing is about like you guys in your relationship have got to dramatically polarize this relationship. You've got to see him as a man. Now that's a two-part thing, right? That is one part, and he should be leading this. That should be him really aggressively working on his own alignment with his masculinity and on containment for a woman. He's got to get like I can even just to give you a direct reflection. It's like you don't come across that way to like a woman basically sees you and immediately reads you as a boy. So if I'm in your position, I'm wanting to get out of that because it sucks for you. It sucks to be read that way. And it's like just, like as a man, it's just kind of icky. You know what I mean? So it's like if I'm in your position, I'm like, I want out of this. Like so I'm thinking if I'm you, what do I do to get out of this energy as me? What keeps me in kind of a boyish mode? What behaviors, what body language, what type of actions might I have to do? Some men, for example, will be like, you know what, to really get my sort of masculine energies flowing, I got to spend more time with men. I've got to, maybe take a jujitsu class or something that basically gets those juices flowing. I don't want to make it super stereotypical, but it's like, each man kind of has a thing that gets him in that energy, right? So if I'm in your shoes, I'm wanting to get in that energy and really aggressively sort of like put that energy towards her also. Like it's a way that I'm walking around in the world as well. It's not just down to like how safe she feels with me, you know. It's not how safe can I make myself to this woman like a little bunny rabbit. It's how safe am I keeping her in this fucking world? Totally different energy. See, the reason I'm kind of using this energy, I'm wanting you to see the difference. So that's your part, right? Now you got to work on seeing him like for the man he is, right? So whenever he's demonstrating those types of energies, you got to recognize, you got to clock those energies and recognize those energies. Because the type of safety that I'm trying to describe, happens between a woman and a man is a very different type of safety than what's happening with you and him. And it's actually the safety that you're experiencing with him, which is like, I'm safe with you like like I'm safe with a bunny rabbit. I know that you're not going to cause me pain. I know you care so much about how I feel, is actually flooding your brain with the chemicals that oppose sexual attraction. So
That makes a lot of sense.
yeah, so it's like what I don't want you to feel like is, oh, there's something seriously wrong with me or us. Like it's what's happening with you, even biologically, makes perfect sense in terms of biochemicals and how they impact levels of attraction.
Yeah.
You guys have got to get, and like you'll see a lot of therapists actually take couples like you in the direction of feeling a little less safe.
Yeah.
Because feeling a little less safe, causes you to be like, oh, wait, like there's a person there, and that person has like a certain power to them, which I didn't see before, right?
I feel like my sexuality has always been tied to some sort of risk or some sort of not taboo, but just like something needs to be at stake in a way, I guess. So I like the idea. I like the idea of that. Yeah.
Well, there's ways to play with that. Like I'm telling you guys right now, like let's say that you're going down the direction of not even just worrying about sort of polarizing the relationship intentionally, which is a whole huge thing, and you're just frustrated about your sexual dynamic. And that's it, which is not just a sexual dynamic issue. Stop telling yourself that question or that story. A lot of like a sex therapist, for example, would help you out by creating scenarios in the bedroom that are a little bit more kink. I'll tell you that. Like, and it may be a direction you guys want to take this in.
Yeah.
Just if I'm you, I'm aggressively getting myself into situations with this guy where he's in control. Like, but that means that you've got to. There's probably hurdles there for like what's okay to do and not okay to do, and how to keep things safe while at the same time potentially making her feel unsafe. And there are ways in a relationship where you can create those types of dynamics with a woman that are very, very juicy. But it's like obviously there's what I notice in men when I'm helping them come into these types of energies is that they've got these types of like no-go zones. But because they're unwilling to go to those zones, they can't create the type of grip in their relationships that they're wanting to create. And they sure as hell can't create the type of respect that they're wanting in the relationship. So you, as a man, are going to be running into all of these no-go zones. And it's time to cross some of those lines, basically. It's like, but as a man, you gotta like, don't make her unsafe, like as a person in general. But like, reminder who you are and what you are.
Yeah. I embrace those things too. So.
Yes. Okay. That was very helpful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't take your freaking emotional dynamic into the bedroom. It's a complete like, okay.
That is where we have gone wrong. Okay.
Yeah.
Yay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
See you.
All right. Up next, we have Chris.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can perfectly.
Excellent. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to ask this question. I have tried asking this to a million different people and never really had good answers.
Oh
So
no.
I'm really hoping that you've got the solution because I've watched your
Oh,
videos on containment and I've
okay.
watched your videos on polyamory,
Okay.
and I don't see many people in the world that do both. Where I feel like I am is I'm a polyamorous man who is repeatedly complimented on my traditional masculinity, my containment, my ability to show up as a provider and protector. And I date a lot of women who are very feminine. And as soon as I try to date somebody else, as soon as I try to, go to sex parties or, have multiple partners in the room, it becomes a major issue.
In what, like, how has it become a major issue? Is it like a jealousy thing? Because in polyamorous dynamics, jealousy is just, as you know, is going to be like a thing.
So I am running through, pretty major social dynamics issues right now because my last partner would often agree to things and then 15
Oh,
minutes beforehand tell me she didn't get a babysitter, she doesn't want to go, I'm forcing her.
oh,
She would she would chase away my other partners. Like I would go to the bathroom and she would start fights with them. And then those other partners would leave. And of course they didn't tell me what was going on.
yeah. This just
Um,
sounds like this is a codependent dynamic rather than somebody who's
it,
truly
it
polyamorous
was
and 100%.
absolutely a codependent dynamic.
Well, it's never going to work. Yeah, that will never work.
Yeah. And okay, yeah, I got out of that, but I'm trying to figure out how to not get into that, how to find.
Okay, so it's really like everything here is going to depend on you finding women that are interested in doing a polyamorous dynamic. If a woman is not entering into it like willfully herself, you're going to end up into all the crap that you're dealing with. So really spending time in polyamorous meetups and around that type of demographic is what you need to be doing.
Yeah. The cycle I've gotten myself into is that these partners break up with me
Okay.
and then immediately trash me on Facebook. And
Okay.
the polyamorous community kicks me out. And I'm like ostracized from that element of my community. And they're like, oh, Chris is forcing people.
Chris is
So we don't want to invite him to these parties.
forcing people to do what? So the women, so these are polyamorous women that are basically getting into dynamics with you, and then they're also saying they feel forced by you.
So like I said, my last partner, I believe some of what was going on was she was trying to talk me out of polyamory. And she was kind of slow rolling and, trying to, like I said, chase away other partners, trying to, distance us from those communities. And when I would say, hey, let's go to a party, let's do this, rather than saying no, so I would invite my other partner and go, she would say yes, and then try to make it not happen.
Yeah, I got that.
Right. And it took me a long time to figure this out. But then when I broke up with her, she started saying that I was forcing her to go to these parties. And I was like, look,
Yeah,
if you want to
that's what
say no, say no.
that is exactly what codependents do. What you're describing is what codependents do in relationships.
Yes.
So
Like, okay. But yeah, I guess so. In terms of containment, in terms of ownership, in terms of those types of things, is there anything that changes in polyamorous dynamics?
no, all that changes is you're
No?
adding more to your plate. Now,
Okay.
obviously, there's different types of polyamory, right? So if you've got like a polyamorous dynamic where somebody wants to be like solo poly, then you're not going to be taking as
Yeah.
hardcore responsibility for somebody's well-being.
Yeah.
But if you're going to step into like a conscious partnership dynamic with multiple women, then all that happens is your container has to grow. Now, I can tell you, I spent my life actually, ironically, around people who are polyamorous that wouldn't say they're polyamorous. They are in Utah, they are the FLDS. And it was very interesting for me engaging in these um, communities because in the same community, you would have one man who had, let's say that both men that you're watching have like 4 wives.
Mhm.
One of them did such a good job containing that those women were happier than a lot of the women, by a lot, I mean, probably 90% of the women that I see outside of a polyamorous dynamic.
Yes.
Other guy, it's a miracle these women haven't committed suicide. And all of it is down to his capacity to contain multiple women. And a big part of that is about the degree to which the women feel like they have to compete and the degree to which he supports their relationship with each other. Like so much of it is about supporting the relationship between these women. But like I said, that what's difficult in your dynamic is that, I mean, obviously we've got all the problems with the FLDS stuff, you know, which I do need people to understand that there is a difference between the Warren Jeffs stuff, and there are some very wonderful people who are fully FLDS that are choosing to do that. And so a lot of these women are basically stepping into these dynamics knowing the positive that they're going to get out of it. And that knowing the positive of what it means to not be the only woman in a lifestyle is what's really giving them that personal motivation to work through the problems. So it's like you're not going to get anywhere without the personal motivation with a woman. Really important to get that, because a lot of women or a lot of guys are saying who are wanting a polyamorous dynamic, lots of them are married already. They're coming to me basically being like, how do I contain well enough that a woman's going to be okay with another woman?
I mean, that was for 20 years, I dated women and I had 3-year relationships, tried to open them up. You know, my partner was asking for a wedding ring and I was like, look, I'm calling beige. I'm bored. You know, I want a spicier sex life. And you know, I want to open things up. I want to have other partners, and that would break us up. And then I'd have another relationship and, you know, go through this process of building up very long, stable relationships. And, you know, and as I get older, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to spend 3 years dating someone who's just going to tell me no. Let's start open.
Yeah, good. Yeah, you got to start
deepen,
open.
and deepen from there.
Absolutely got to start open. Yep. So with any woman though, let's say you start open, you go from there, which is your only option really.
Yeah.
Anytime you introduce a new woman to the dynamic, like let's say that you're in a polyamorous, let's say you've got a polycule and a guy in the situation is wanting to open up to a new female. Anytime you get into that type of a scenario, it's all about containing the fears about what a woman feels like she's going to lose. Now, in polyamorous circles, they call this new relationship energy, which is extremely exciting, but it's also extremely destabilizing because it has the capacity to act against our better judgments and against our responsibilities and against these types of things. And so really to provide good containment in that situation is to hold really, really strong when you've got that new relationship energy, and to not let it become like a destructive force. It's not that you're saying no to where you're wanting to go, but you're introducing it in a very smart way, and you're ensuring that nobody's losing by virtue of going towards that relationship. And that's the troubleshooting that you have to do in that type of a dynamic that you don't have to do in a traditional monogamous dynamic. You know, most people don't have to troubleshoot, like, how do I make it so that this woman that's already in my container is not going to lose anything by me going in the direction of this new partner? And when you put a lot of your energy, meaning she's already signed up to this polyamorous dynamic, so she knows she's got to work with some discomfort, but it's worth the payoff she's going to get. Then it's about, you know, you really making sure that she does not experience that impact negatively.
Yeah, because I would say that's something I certainly observe, you know, if I'm dating somebody for 2, 3, 4 months, there's a feeling of they want me to stop dating other people. And I'm like, okay, well, you know, I built one relationship. It's working reasonably well for 4 months. Like now I'm trying to find the partner to introduce you to.
Yeah, they're just afraid. So what I
And
feel from this, when I'm listening to you, I very much do feel the sense that like the women who are in your container are feeling like they're going to lose something by virtue of you going towards a new female.
yeah,
And
I think that's true.
there's not an incentive for them for it to happen. So that's kind of a blind spot I want you to really think about. The blind spot is am I making it clear or making sure that there is an incentive to the other person also? Because that, when I watch polycules that are really successful, that is really what ultimately the people are doing within that setting. They're saying, you're going to gain by me getting this person in. It's not just you're going to lose by virtue of me getting this person in. And that's where we can really identify whether we're being super self-centered in our relationship life. Are we just expecting the person to just be fine because it's our need without really trying to help them understand how it's actually for them also? Nobody's going to go towards.
I think that might be a little bit of where I'm stuck, because I would definitely say this is my need.
Yeah, so it can't be. So like that's what I'm trying to say. You're basic. So what you're putting women in the position of is having to self-sacrifice for the sake of your needs. Your needs.
Okay.
Nobody's. It's not going to go okay for you. Like I don't like. This is where you've got to accept this. I feel like if you actually swallow this, you're going to be able to troubleshoot this better because you're a guy who's pretty good at solving problems, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you being able to solve this problem is on the other side of you swallowing that nobody's going to sign up for that. It's too much of an ask. It really is. Like you are in one of these positions where what you're saying to a woman that you need for you because it's your need, it requires such a give on her part that no woman's going to do it. They're going to, if they do self-sacrifice in that way, oh my God, are you going to hear it on the other side of that? So unless you can find some way here to make it for her also, you're in for a dynamic where you're in a lot of pain in relationships, or you're in for a dynamic where you can only do certain relationships, like not full-blown polycules where you've got multiple people involved and whatever else, because it's just gonna it basically selects only for the women that are like, yeah, fine, you do fucking you and I do me. Which it
So
doesn't seem like you
in
like
terms
those, does
of
it?
in terms of making it for her also,
Yeah,
I have a couple examples from my life. I have a partner who very much enjoys kind of a voyeurist um, aspect to her life, and she likes to watch. And that is very much, supportive of me finding
yeah,
and dating other women. I've had partners who wanted to explore their bisexuality, and that was very, supportive of these kind of dynamics.
yeah.
Is there other examples you can think of that might?
Yeah, the direction that I want you to go more in is less actually sexual and more emotional. It's like what is actually in it for a woman to emotionally bring another woman into the picture? How is this new woman potentially going to contribute to the emotional experience that a woman is having in her life in general, not just in the bedroom?
I don't know if I have an answer for that. Like, I would love the answer to that.
Well,
That's what
that's what
I'm
I'm saying. That kind of depends on what type of a woman that you're interested in dating, doesn't it? This is why I'm saying, like, you really got to be with a woman who's really into polyamory herself, because
Yeah.
this has got
No,
to be a
I agree
highly
that.
social person who's like, because coming up with this answer is going to be easier when you're with that type of woman, because usually they're like, oh, I already kind of know some of the things that I need, and that's why I'm interested in this dynamic. And a lot of these women, just so you know, that are into the polyamorous dynamic, they're not just into it because they want sex with other men. A lot of them are into it because they're like, oh my God, I love the feeling of like having a bigger family where it's like we're doing life together. And sometimes I love it when it's not just a friend, it's somebody who are like, we're really doing this and it's us in life. And I have the support that I don't get, from my family, or the support that potentially I don't even get from you sometimes, because let's be honest, sometimes having a woman there for certain things is a little bit different. Um, yeah, like helping, like this is where I want you to be thinking though. I want you to be kind of brainstorming in this direction about the emotional experience that a woman has in life in general, and how potentially bringing a new partner in is going to serve that in some way, and how you are going to facilitate that better too. Like the way that you set up, whether you're going to live together or not, it changes whether she's going to experience some of these things.
Yeah.
Also making a woman aware of how like being in a new relationship for you is going to fuel you towards her too, and not just take you away from her. Because like,
Yeah.
some truly polyamorous men, when they get into these new dynamics, they are filled with more energy to put towards everyone, and that includes their partner, where they were being depleted before. So you can even say, this is what you can expect from me because of me getting more of this in this way, and we can do it in a safe way. um, I am going to be showing up for you more in X, Y, and Z way.
And that is definitely like, I've had conversations, particularly with this past partner, where, she was like, you feel closed off. You feel like I can't feel your heart. And I said, that's because you don't accept this part of me. Like, I don't feel like I can be vulnerable in this way because I feel like I'm getting shut down. Like, this is something, that is tender, that is almost a trauma in me. Like, I want to feel accepted in this way, is like my needs are important.
It's just very important that you feel like that. So something that I do want you to become aware of is that, do you know how we've been talking today about people who, say they go through a specific trauma and they have a specific experience, and based off of that, they come up with a specific belief that puts them on a track,
Yeah.
right? That track can very easily put us towards having to have this thing about us accepted by people who wouldn't normally accept it. It's no different at all than, you see women sometimes that have had a bad relationship with their dad, and because of it, it's like they can only really feel loved if they find somebody that's just like dad to give them that love. But dad's unavailable, so was unavailable, so the new guy's unavailable. Something I want you to be sort of tracking with your self-growth mind is there is potentially an aspect of you that really wants this acceptance from somebody who would normally reject it. And that's what makes it feel very, very real, rather than getting with somebody who's like, yeah, of course I accept it about you. I'm the same. Duh.
It's interesting, like, does that resonate to some extent? I don't feel like I'm consciously chasing people who don't want this. At least maybe I'm feeling I'm at the end of that,
I
at
hope,
least.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Okay, so did anything that I say make more sense to you? Or are you still feeling like it feels like you want a specific answer, and it's hard for me to put my fingers on specifically what answer you're wanting me to give, because
No, I'm looking for a way out of a dynamic that I feel is paralyzing me, which is I have a ton of friends who are polyamorous who have these kind of relationships. And I often feel like there's sort of a vibe around me of like, we can't include Chris in that side of the group. And as far as I can tell, it's coming from the relationships I am having, which are people on the adjacent edges of those groups who are trying to get out of it
okay, you want
and
me
see
you want
me as
you
a
want me
provider part, you
do you
know?
want do you want me to explain how you come across? Like, because
Yeah.
like even I'm running into it, and I think it could be factoring into this whole thing. You come across as a real bulldozer, as somebody who's like, because it's almost like there's been traumas around your best interests.
There have, absolutely, yes.
Because of that, it feels like you've overcompensated in a way to basically say, I'm not going to put up with it anymore. It's almost like you've got this fighter energy that's like, I'm not going to put up with it anymore. I'm going to do what's right for me, and I'm going to fuck anything that's going to get in my way type of energy. And so it's like, even though we can be having this conversation about the importance of especially when we are talking about masculine containment, really taking the other person's best interest in as you strike as somebody who has a very difficult time actually caretaking somebody else's best interest when there's any type of a rub against your own best interests. And so it's
Yeah,
like,
I don't know, like I think you know, historically, I think I've done that to an extreme. Like I have had partners that, called me and said they were suicidal and broke, and I moved them into my house and, shut down everything that I wanted to do for 6 months, 8 months, so that I could help build them back.
yeah.
And what I found out of it was I didn't get, like, there was no loyalty, there was no reciprocity, there was no, wow, thank you for saving my life. It was like, screw you, it was a trap into codependence.
Well,
And as
that's
soon as I wanted out of that, I was suddenly the bad guy.
yeah.
And I was like, okay, how do I not be so generous? How do I not be such a caretaker?
It's not about that. It's not about how do I not be so generous. You ended up with in a rescue dynamic. In a rescue dynamic,
Yes, totally.
there could be no strings attached. And the
And probably
person,
not one. I've probably ended up in three rescuing dynamics.
okay, well, rescue dynamics is not about kindness. It's about feeling like you're such a pile of shit that you can only actually be chosen by somebody who you basically pull out of the gutter with the hidden expectation that that person is going to give you your needs by virtue of you rescuing them. So underneath it is the feeling that you're not going to be directly chosen.
To some extent, I agree with that. Yeah. And like I said, I really want out of that. I really want something that doesn't feel like it's rescuing. And
So if I was to ask you, what scares you so much about going directly, and I don't want the answer to be nothing, okay? What would be so scary about going directly for a woman who's already polyamorous, who's really, really excited about getting into this dynamic that you're wanting?
like my answer is nothing.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be nothing.
And I don't know. Um,
Oh,
the I really have a tough time with this. I think the closest thing that I could think of is a feeling of asymmetry as I build up other partners that find that. And if this partner already has three other partners, then I'm starting off as the fourth horse, and it's not going to be a primary relationship. And I do eventually want family and kids, and I'm 45 already. Like I would love to have somebody that was sort of my main partner to start with. But like I've really made peace with that, and in ending my that last primary relationship 2 years ago, I was intending to keep other partners who were already polyamorous and married, and had the polyamory similar in their marriage license. Like they were totally my type of people, right? And that's what I wanted to move forward from, like forward towards, and get out of the codependent dynamic. But that partner again has like absolutely destroyed my reputation in these scenes. And I can't find those people. Like those people are so worried about my reputation that in my social networks, it's been very difficult to just sort of meet somebody and be like, hey, let's see each other once a week on Thursday. As soon as I start dating somebody on Wednesday, or as soon as they see my house, they want to move in, and then they're mad at me if I don't let them move in. These are the kind of dynamics that I seem to be up against, where it just doesn't, like, there is no ease in terms of once a week casual polyamorous relationships. I have not been able to set that up, and I don't have any resistance to it. I am always on dates with people trying to set that up, but after 3 or 4 months everything fizzles, and usually it's one of those factors. It's they want to move in with me, they're mad about me dating other women, or reputational things from past relationships.
yeah, which is all of this is not caused by one thing. It's caused by a whole bunch of things.
It's caused by a whole bunch of things.
Yeah, it's caused by a bunch of things. It's caused by traumas. It's caused by the way that you're conducting yourself. It's caused by the types of people that you're attracted to. It's caused by the reality of the polyamorous world. It's like the what you're facing is the result of a kind of a curry. So it's like the only option is to really weed through the curry, right?
Weed through the curry.
Yeah, why I'm saying a curry is like that a curry is like a combination of different things, right?
I didn't know that. No.
Okay, well, a curry is a combination of multiple different ingredients, right? And
Okay.
so
Yeah.
anytime that I say that we're dealing with a curry situation, it's like it's not as this cut dry simple, this is the one thing that makes the whole thing come together. Like part of it is these early childhood traumas and specifically the beliefs that you adopted that are it's what we've been talking about today. Specifically these um uh the strategic beliefs that you've adopted and where that basically set you in terms of a track in your life. That's number one. Number two, it's down to the reality of the polyamorous world, which is that it's a complete trap for people who have commitment issues, right? And a trap for people have a lot of trauma in relationships themselves.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the people who are like, hey, let's go be polyamorous, just like you, not necessarily saying that you're not naturally this way. But what I'm saying is, just like you, they've encountered so much pain in their interpersonal relationships that they're like, yeah, the whole thing isn't working. So I want to do something that would work better. But when people are entering into the polyamorous world, they're not doing so without all the baggage. They're still doing so with all the baggage. And so we would wish that the polyamorous world was just sort of like a solution to everybody's problems, and yet we take ourselves with us. So it's like somebody who feels who's got, say, wounding around not being paid attention to, it's going to show up whether they're in a polyamorous relationship or a monogamous relationship. So part of what you're running into is just like, it doesn't matter which world you're in, you're running into people who have got this baggage with them.
Yeah, I think having a better filter is definitely part of my problem. I need to filter out people that, you know, are not financially stable enough to do this type of relationship, and filter out people who, you know, their baggage and their traumas are what's, you know, I'm kind of attaching myself to that karma.
Yeah. So what is it that prevents that filtration, do you think? Like, do you notice anything about yourself when you're going on these dates or getting into it sort of deeper with a woman that makes you just be, instead of be like, red flag?
I mean, one of the big ones with several of my partners is I have dated women who, you know, said they wanted the types of relationships I wanted, have done that stuff in the past. And what it seemed like was the problem was that they didn't have money, or they were in poor, you know, living situations or things like that. And I was like, oh, I have a big house. I have, you know, a high income. Like, this doesn't have to be a problem in our relationship. And, you know, that red flag didn't seem like a red flag. Uh, you know, and yeah, like with my last partner, she phoned me quite literally from the mental hospital and said, you know, hey, I'm having suicidal thoughts. I need someone to stay with. And I was like, like, this is what you do. You help, right? You know, put aside my own self-interest to help her. And then what I've noticed is that there's an insecurity there,
Oh yeah.
right? So when I went on other dates, it was like, oh my God, I'm going to lose my housing, right? And that was never something I wanted, you know, like, I don't want that. I would much rather date someone who had the financial stability, but those partners are seeking me out and getting closer to me, you know, because I'm offering to help.
Yeah, but like, so this is the thing. And this is where you're going to be challenged. And I'm going to get really irritated if you start to be like, this doesn't resonate. You are a rescuer, okay? As a rescuer, you've got huge self-worth issues that keep you wanting those relationships. And they make you feel safer. That's the thing you've got to recognize. When you're going towards somebody who needs rescue, you get to be more in the control. When that starts to flip is when they start to get healthier and start to feel okay. Right? Because then it's like there's all these strings attached, which you don't actually reveal. That's the case for rescuers. The strings and that's the strings attached, right?
Absolutely. The only thing I would argue with is the present tense. I certainly think I was a rescuer for most of my dating life, and I think I'm kind of a recovering rescuer right now.
Okay, well, as a recovering rescuer, it's very important to be on top of how unsafe it makes you feel when you're in an equal dynamic power-wise. Control is something that you like. And I don't want to get into a moral conversation around control. It's not about morality. It's about control as a way that you feel safe. So as somebody who really
I think that's true. I think that's true.
so then being somebody who really likes to be in a position of control, you're going to get yourself into some trouble here, because the way that you can maintain control is by getting into these types of dynamics where you feel like you're more in that seat. And what polyamory is going to really challenge you with is that. Because obviously when you date these women who are a lot more on their own 2 feet and who know what they want, you run into the very insecurity that's going to prevent you from being with the partners you're saying you're wanting, which is, you know, oh no, now what happens if she's like got other options, doesn't need me, doesn't whatever. It's like, and those insecurities are something that I would love you to start to deal with in a very proactive way, because that will enable you to be, like, when you're on a date, to see the red flags with a woman that you really shouldn't be going towards. And also when you start to feel that sort of insecurity, to be like, wait, I know what this is. This is my insecurity around, like, oh no, I can't be in the sort of in the power dynamic that I'm used to in a relationship. And so I need to work with my insecurity and step forward on that type of a relationship, and try to work with this woman to set up a situation where my needs are met too, which it's putting you more at, like, you see, it's like,
I mean, like I've actually had conflicting. I've had people suggest that really what I need is a BDSM Dom sub relationship.
okay, that wouldn't surprise me.
And
Yeah.
that would, that's kind of the opposite. That's, preserving the control.
Okay, so a BDSM style relationship, if you're doing a lifestyle dynamic, this is why you're confused. Oh my God, I can see it. Okay, so
Well, I'm doing a little bit of all of the above. Yeah.
that is why you're in a quagmire. Because so much of what you're saying you're wanting is actually conflictual. Or
Okay.
let's say it makes it much more difficult. Because if you're going to do a lifestyle dom sub dynamic, that is such an aggressive level of ownership that you just being able to go away because it's on your own terms isn't a thing. Like the level of containment of a dom sub lifestyle dynamic is so much farther than what I'm trying to teach men and women in this sort of male female dynamic. It's not even funny. Like we're talking the dom sub, no, not the dom sub relationship is like college level containment.
Yeah.
Especially, this really depends on how far you want to take that relationship, because we know there's a spectrum even in the kink world there, right?
Totally.
But obviously, like that level of aggressive ownership of somebody's well-being does not go with what you're describing right now. Well, I don't want to be in a situation where I move a girl into my house and, I'm taking care of her and
No,
I want to be
I
able.
mean, what I want to be in is a situation where it's okay for me to bring another partner in. And I could do that in the BDSM Dom sub dynamic where, I had a 90% monogamous partner that lived with me that, there was aggressive ownership and containment, and periodically we brought in a friend. And I could
Okay.
also do that in a very open polyamorous, we're kind of
Yeah, this is why you're getting into trouble. It's because you're what you're doing is you're narrowing and narrowing and narrowing and narrowing the field as to the type of woman that you're actually wanting and is saying this is what's right for me. Which I'm
okay.
not saying is necessarily wrong, but you do have to get that you're like really limiting the field. So
I do get that. I do get that what I want is a very specific type of person. Yes. And that's
okay.
why I'm very protective of community reputations, because there's not many places I can go to find these people.
I agree with you there, and now I can't fight with that because now that I know that you're into that type of a relationship, the kink world is small enough, right? If you're wanting a kink relationship where you can bring extra people into it, that's even like subsets within subsets of the kink community. So yes, okay, I understand that.
And I don't know, like I said, I don't know if I
No,
haven't tried that to a degree, but I've had kink relationships that kind of worked. I've had, more kind of open lifestyle type relationships that
okay,
kind of,
well, I have only personally seen, like, for me, being very embedded in the kink world also, I can basically tell you, I'm so interested in sexual dynamics and relationship dynamics. This is like something that is I've had a lot of experience with. I have only seen the type of thing that you are describing work when people are cohabitating
Mhm.
and you're bringing another female in and then another female in, and it's almost becoming a situation. And that's the thing. It's like, how much freedom are you wanting these women to have sex with other partners? Because when we're talking about a purely polyamorous dynamic, it's the same Z's. Now that we're in the territory of like, I want a dumb sob dynamic, but I don't want the women to be essentially having sex with other men. I would like them to all be underneath me. I have seen it work.
uh,
Obviously everybody has to sign up for it, but it's like I've never
yes.
seen it outside the context of cohabitation.
Yeah, I've never been a person where my partners can't sleep with other people. That's not me. Um, I have actually dated many women who did not want that. Like they specifically said they wanted something a lot closer to what you're saying, and they're like, I want a dominant male partner
Yeah,
who is my dom, and I do, like we can bring other women in, but I don't want other men. Like I've had women kind of put that on me. And I
yeah.
was like, that's fine by me. I don't, if that's what you want, but it isn't my requirement coming down. And I think it's often being framed as my requirement coming down. Um,
No, it's just you're very like I don't know whether it's just by virtue of us being on like this, but it's been very confusing for me to figure out what it is the exact dynamic that you're wanting and then how to go directly for that. Right. So if this is the exact, I mean, so that's just something to take with you. It's confusing. So the more sort of clear you are about the exact dynamic that you're looking for, um, the flexibility is where it starts to get confusing because it kind of introduces the concept of like different types of people who may not be interested in that type of thing. But basically, so for you, if you're wanting that type of a dynamic, I'm going back to what I said to begin with. It's really honestly like to the aggression with which you can show a woman that bringing a new partner in is going to benefit her, and really taking like really aggressive ownership over the fears that she has got. And if I'm in your position, I'm not going to bulldoze her forward into going into those dynamics. I'm going to get so much information about all the things she's afraid of. And then I'm going to take it upon myself to prevent all of those fears so that I can do it in a way where she's a yes to it rather than a no to it. That's like aggressive levels of containment around it, basically, around the existing partner. But then it's like every time you add an additional partner, now you're dealing with two women you got to do that for, not just one. So
as one partner starts to get stable, should I stop dating other people for a period? Is that
as one partner starts to get stable, in what way?
like I said, I've dated somebody for 2, 3, 4 months, and then, we have a conversation, and I'm like, oh, I went on a date with so and so last week, and they freak out.
No, this should be something that they're signing up for before you go on a date.
That's what I thought too. Like I said, and I say this on the first date, like I'm polyamorous, I'm dating other people, but then after 3 or 4 months, there's like a day where I go on a date or, get invited to a sex party or something, and my partner is absolutely freaking out about that.
Well, obviously I would want to bring it. So again, you want to keep reminding them and keep reminding them and keep reminding them. Don't just like bring it up at the beginning and then don't bring it up and then be like, by the way, I went on a date. You want to keep it kind of fresh in their minds. And during this time period where you're working to secure the relationship, you're also working to secure those fears around that type of thing. And if I'm in your position, I'm not trying to give security to the woman in the way that I would give security to a monogamous woman. Like I'm gonna make sure that, like, let's say that I'm a flirtatious man. I'm gonna make sure that I do flirt actually. And that what I'm doing
Yeah.
is I'm giving her tastes, but I'm watching the reaction, and every time that I get a sort of counter reaction from her, I'm actively working with it. I'm working her through the fears and going in the right, but I'm also getting feedback from myself as to like how big of a problem is this going to be. So it's at
Yeah.
that point that you're like, even 2 weeks in, that it's like, wait a minute, we might have a problem here. We're not going to step even deeper into the relationship unless we deal with this kind of baby bobble that's on the way to me going on a full-blown date with someone else.
Hey, Chris, I hate to interrupt, but we do have just a few moments left of this live Q&A. If you can wrap up with Teal in the next few seconds, we're going to answer some final questions. Thank you so much.
Sure. I don't know if I have anything else. I think that is really good advice. I think it's probably the best advice I've gotten from anybody. So thank you.
I was very worried about disappointing you today. Oh man. Okay, well, the more aggressive containment that you have over a woman's fears around what she's going to lose, and the more you help her to see how something that's in your best interest is actually going to be a gain for her too, the better this is going to go for you. Just if you remember those two things, I feel like there can be a lot of troubleshooting on your part that will work.
Yep. All right. Thank you.
Okay, see you.
Thank you. All right, Teal. We have some more questions that are written in from people that I'm going to read out loud to you.
Okay.
This is from Tamara Del Ellis. Her question is, I'm a professional matchmaker, and every day I hear the frustration of my male clients who say they feel responsible for too much of the relationship maintenance, initiating dates, paying for dates, tending to communication between meetings, advancing physical intimacy. They tell me they want to share this responsibility with the women they date. What is missing in the masculine-feminine dynamic that makes what was once a defining role an overwhelming obligation for a man in 2025?
Okay. Okay, so just full disclosure, as a woman who's in the feminine polarity, it's really gross when a guy does not want to take these types of things onto himself. But for the sake of answering this question, I'm going to explain it to you. I'm going to sympathize with where men are today. What you are looking at in this dynamic that you're noticing in 2025 is one of the key negative outcomes of these very major shifts in gender roles within society, and especially due to the women's rights movement. What we're talking about here is essentially a prescribed gender expectation, right? And to be honest with you, with ever increasing intensity since the women's rights movement, these gender expectations have been out the window. I mean, completely out the window. A lot of men kind of feel like this. Women don't adhere to any gender expectation anymore, so why the hell should we? So a lot of men are responding to the fact that this feels very, very unfair, and it's almost like a flip in a power dynamic. And that's something that I really do want you to get in a very powerful way, because what women did when they went through this women's rights thing was they wanted to look to shift the power dynamic and the power, situation. When they wanted to do that, though, it's not just that they wanted to be equal. And this is the gaslight, right? Because what you see on the surface of the women's rights movement is equality, equality, equality. What was behind it was, I'm so fucking mad at you. You fucked our lives up forever. We will not stand for it anymore. Fuck men. Okay? That's really what was happening underneath it. Because of so much trauma that was going on with women. And that underlying tonality of against men has definitely been baked into society nowadays. It's there. And like, I'm starting to get frustrated, quite frankly, when anybody tries to deny it, because it's the reality that men are living in and growing up in today. When women feel disempowered, it's not like they're saintly creatures who are like, we're women who know about the universe so much better than you, and we know how to deal with our own trauma so much better. And because of it, we know what a healthy dynamic between men and women actually should be, and we're going to bring it about. No, fuck no. The only impression that women got of what power looked like was masculine power. And what they sought to do was to rise up and compete with men in that same dynamic of power. And so what we started to see is this kind of a unconscious desire to flip the power role. That's where you started to see sentiments like, men have been in charge for way too long. It's our turn. Okay, this is important to understand, because nowadays, when women say, we aren't going to adhere to a gender expectation, but you adhere to a gender expectation. Okay, well, what's happened is we've now flipped the power dynamic, and we've put ourselves in this goddess position where the men have to come up underneath us and please us like a little servant or minion. And so what men are saying absolutely not to is that type of a power role where they're on the underside of a woman and they have to do unequal stuff, which is adhere to these gender expectations when a woman doesn't have to adhere to a gender expectation. So there's a lot of anger, understandably so, from men towards women about like, okay, well, fucking figure it out, you guys. Do you want gender roles and gender expectations, or do you not want it? And this is where men keep getting the sort of mixed message about it. No, we can do everything you can do. It's equals, like I can do it. Why aren't you paying? Guys are gross when they don't pay. Like that type of stuff. And we're sending this mixed message because of the fact that, women really are not in a conscious space about all of this either, right? We're in a mess right now where both men and women don't know what the hell they're doing themselves. Okay, so that's the primary thing to understand about why it's the way that it is in 2025 with this whole like samesies thing relative to dating. The second thing is it feels a lot easier for men to just do it this way, to be like, you know what, no, we're going to do a samesies, than to navigate this incredibly slippery road of fairness in relationships and power dynamics and the emotional charge that is around gender-based performance, meaning me opening a door for a woman in 2025 is such a freaking nightmare. And like, it's just better to avoid it. Just let her open the freaking door if she wants to. And let's do halvesies on dates. I see a lot of people, especially in the younger generations, doing these kinds of samesies relationships because it is so much less complicated than just weeding through the nightmare that is, trying to navigate gender expectations and gender roles and these types of things in the year 2025. Which, let's be frank, for a lot of women, it's easier too. A lot of women are like, yep, samesies is easier. Let's just do it that way. Okay, so the next component to why it is like this in 2025 is that so many men feel like it is like not even possible, quite frankly, to be doing the things anymore in this day and age. Now, I'm going to assert that our traditional model for what is masculine in a dynamic versus feminine in a dynamic is not actually accurate. a lot of what we are associating with female versus male is based off of a cultural indoctrination that has nothing actually to do with masculine or feminine dynamics. That being said, our context that most of us have for a masculine feminine dynamic in a relationship is the 1950s type of a thing. Looks a lot like providership and that type of stuff. And so many men nowadays are like, it's not even freaking possible to do it anymore. Like, no matter what they do in terms of a job or whatever, most of them are not going to make the amount that provides for a quality of life, or them working enough jobs to provide for a woman to do these types of gender expected things. It's going to make it so that everybody has such a poor quality of life that it's not worth doing anymore. So it's almost like society's made it impossible to even be in those gender expectations. That's very much a sentiment, by the way, amongst Gen Z men. And then another thing, though, that I have to basically put in here, as a kind of antidote to all this, now that I've gone and made it all depressing, right? An antidote to this is that men really need to reconnect with a sense of pride and power in doing these types of things. Because, like I said, we've basically made it so that they can't like find any esteem in being in these roles and positions anymore. They can't be esteemed for being men anymore. And yet they're expected to do these types of things. And so it doesn't feel like something that's giving to them. So what's really important for men is to be reconnected with that sense of kind of pride and power in doing these things. What we would call these gender expectation things, right? And also deciding upon where they are in that whole thing. So it's coming from them that they want to do it and for a good reason rather than coming from the outside. And they're just kind of living up to it like some sort of external expectation dynamic, right? So there's a very big difference. This is something to get men to understand when you're trying to explain the reasoning for doing all of these things. There's a very big difference in the mentality between somebody who is, say, in the position where they are mentally like a servant to somebody else and they're having to do all these things to please the other person, than the mentality of, wait a minute, I'm a guardian of something that I'm caretaking. Same actions, different mentality, different energy, right? So men need to get empowered in this regard again by changing their mentality and their energy with regards to women and doing these things for women. And we can help them, like women can help them to do that by actually showing them how they do get power and esteem out of doing those things. But of course, we have to want them in those types of positions, right? So many women have been so damaged by men that we're terrified of a man having any sense of empowerment. That's the truth. But we've basically gone down the road of castrating men, and then we're not attracted to them anymore. So we kind of shot ourselves in the foot in that way. But that should paint a picture as to how this whole weird dating situation, samesies in 2025 has gone down.
Amazing. Ready for the next question and our final question, actually?
Okay.
Okay. It is from Zarina. Her question is, I, female 29, love your video on containment, and it resonated with my male 31 partner. We understand the benefit to the feminine energy in this dynamic. We would like to understand more benefits to the masculine being in that role. Does it mean that the woman is the receiver and the man is the giver? If so, is it imbalanced? What does a man receive in providing containment?
Woo! Okay. When we talk about the man being a giver and the woman being a receiver, it's very important to understand that this is very different than saying that a man is a giver and a woman is just a taker. Receptivity is an energetic state of being, and that is the most natural state of being for a female. A man putting his energy towards a receiver causes it to produce fruit, which is why the most helpful thing that you will literally ever hear on this subject is to think about this like tending a crop. Okay, when a farmer tends a crop, he puts all kinds of energy into whatever it is that he's tending. And as a result, it starts producing, right? So when a woman is contained, she's in this kind of a state of well-being. And what starts to happen is that she starts producing, right? And much of what she produces starts to go towards the man. It actually goes towards everything that's around her, but it goes towards the man. This is why we call a woman a multiplier of energy. Never forget that. A woman is a reflector and a multiplier of energy. So basically, things start to flow forth from her. And this is especially expressions of love. Now, this same thing that I'm discussing is why a woman would yield children, for example, just like a crop yield. She starts to produce and starts to become fertile and starts to, create life and all of these things from that state of having energy given to her, right? So it's a real lack of awareness for a man to not understand how those things that she produces don't come back towards her. But let's just talk beyond yielding children and being so creative that she starts to create stuff. One of the things she starts producing is love. Now, what that looks like on a tangible level is the different expressions of love. So you've got things like words of affirmation start to happen. You've got things like acts of service start to happen. Physical affection starts to happen, right? And we can keep going. All these lovely things that make a man feel loved start to flow from her as demonstrations of love when she gets this type of containment. And all of those things that start to flow from a woman absolutely benefit the man that she is with. Not only that, they're the very things that he's desperate for in a relationship. Like a guy is desperate to be respected. Guess what? You provide containment, you get respect, right? Oh, guess what? He's desperate for softness. Guess what? You provide containment, that's exactly what you get. So like all of the things that a man really wants in a relationship, he gets as a result of providing this type of a containment. It's not like when you put energy into a woman, it just goes into a bottomless pit and goes nowhere, right? Okay, so beyond that, where do I want to go? Oh, here. It's very strange to talk about containment as if it's something that a man is giving and that the giving of it doesn't actually give him something just in the doing of it, because it actually should be that way with containment. What is the most natural for a man is to provide containment. The providing of it in and of itself does a lot for a man. And so there's like a built-in intrinsic motivation to do it. It's not like containment is not something that is an extrinsically motivated thing, even though I just went through that whole entire speech about how providing containment makes a woman produce so you get all these things back. I need you to drop that for half a second because ironically, a man wouldn't necessarily need the extrinsic reward like that in order to provide containment because the providing of it puts him in an energy which actually gives him more energy. So the providing of containment is something that in and of itself gives something to a man, puts a man in the right type of energy where he actually feels good in the world as he is moving through it. So that's something that's important to know. If you're not getting something, if you as a man or feel like you're not getting something out of providing containment, that's really something you got to look at directly because it basically points to some kind of a trauma or some kind of an issue in your current relationship, which really needs to be looked at in a very direct way to sort of break it down as to like, what is it specifically that I don't feel like this is giving to me in any way. It's just very rare, right? Because like I said, it's a built-in thing. The same way that it feels really good for a woman to be in a state of creativity. She's not like, ew, I only like creating when I get something for it. You see what I mean? It's the same thing with containment in men. So that should help it to make a little bit more sense. Okay, was that a good enough answer to the question? I did cover all the things, right? I covered what a man gets back, right? And it's not the same as good. Yeah, I did. I did a good job. Okay. I don't have anything else to say on this. Think about it like tending a crop. And also think of it like me being in this state where I'm containing is a natural state of being that in and of itself feels good to me. And so I shouldn't need an extrinsic reward for it, even though they will come.
All right.
Oh, so we're at the end of the day, right?
Yes.
Okay, you guys, I decided to do something fun. Just for fun. You guys know about my frequency tarot deck. I decided that it would be fun if at the end of this to sort of wrap it up to a close, if I drew a card for us, y'all. So what I wanted to do was to set the intention to pull one of these cards from the deck that gives us whatever message those of us that are currently tuned in right here and now need to hear. Okay, so that's my intention. Set the intention with me. I'm going to start doing my thing. Bear with me. I'm terrible at shuffling. All right, what I have drawn here is actually immunity. That's what it looks like, for those of you that can see. We've drawn immunity. And we have drawn it upright, in fact. So here's what this means. If you've drawn this card upright, and we have, you're not as vulnerable as you feel. You have stability even if you don't recognize it. Toxic energies are not going to adhere to you at this time, so don't worry about them. You're protected and exempt from their negative effects. You love yourself enough at this moment to do what feels right in this moment. That doesn't mean that you love yourself perfectly, but it means you love yourself enough to do what feels right in the moment, and it will be right for you. So you're approving of yourself enough, basically, at this point, that your self-worth has imbued you with immunity to the things that could harm you. Believe that what you're doing is right. Know that you're worthy of the life that you chose to live. Wow, that's a good message. I rarely feel immune to stuff, so yay! So that's your card for right now, for whatever it's worth. Every one of us that's on this meeting. Okay, so what do I want to say after that? Yeah, I hope that this relationship workshop has helped you guys some. I do want you to know that every time that you are writing in these questions, regardless of where you're writing them in or how you're writing them in and my team going across them, I do become more and more aware of what it is that I'm needing to teach to. So every time we get on and talk like this, or you write those messages in, it does hone down the things that I feel like I need to be teaching to at a specific time. I have got so many Teal episodes that I know that I have to write just based off of doing this 2-day workshop, which is going to be really good news because it means that if you can stay tuned to my YouTube channel every single Saturday, I will be releasing these videos there. So there's going to be a lot of more clarity that will come about your relationships out of those videos when I have more time to sit down and really think through what I'm wanting to say about these very complex topics. Now, something that I do want to say, and I think like this is really important before signing off today and handing you back over to my team because they've got more stuff to talk to you about. One thing that I've noticed is that people tend to treat relationships as if they're something where you have like a perfect recipe for them and then they just turn out, rather than relating to relationships in general and relationship mastery like it's mastering a sport. So let's just pretend that you were to go get into like the game of tennis. You just one day you stand up and you go, I want to be a tennis player. Maybe I don't want to be a professional player, but I want to get really good at learning the game of tennis. Well, guess what? It's a lifelong endeavor because literally there is never a day where it couldn't get better, couldn't get better, couldn't get better, couldn't change the game more. And that is how relationships are. They're more like a sport in this way, where it's not about getting this one thing perfectly right and then you just get relationships as if they should just work. It's about the mastery of the art of having relationship. And that's why one reason why this feels so difficult and why it feels like you're getting a fire hose of information from all over the place about relationships. Just like if you were to talk to multiple different experts on tennis, it would be a fire hose of information about different ways to do a front, a forehand, and different ways to do serves, and how to change up the game if there's wind involved, and all this type of thing, right? So I feel like the more that you start to relate to relationships in and of themselves as if it's a sport that we're taking on, it's the sport of mastery of relationships, the easier this will be for you, and the less you'll be telling yourself stories about how bad you are at it, right? It is not true that people should just wake up one day and know how to master relationships. Like it's just be something we all can do. And if we can't figure it out perfectly, we've got something wrong with us. The truth is just so much more complicated than that. And it's part of the reason why you came down as a physical human, as a species that is so incredibly relationally dependent for the sake of your own well-being, is because you came here to master relationship. I could even go beyond that and say it's not just about human beings. I mean, you came into the land of duality where you're in a relationship, whether you like it or not, with all things in existence. And so one of the main things you came here to do is master relationships. So let's just keep on doing this, shall we? Beyond that, I hope you guys have a lovely Christmas holiday. don't worry, I'm not just going to disappear. I'm going to be here for the whole thing. But I really love Christmas. I hope you guys have some really fun stuff planned for yourself. And I hope you celebrate, because guess what? As you're about to see with my 2026 blog, which I've already done and I'm about to release, celebration is very important. It's not to be overlooked. Now, thanks for joining me. I will hand you over to my team who has more stuff to say. And I love you very much.
What did you guys think of that workshop? Wasn't it incredible? I'd love to know in the chats what your number one takeaway from this event is, from day 2, from day 1, any other questions that have kind of been inspired from this Q&A. I'd love to hear that, because our team loves reading through your questions, just so you know. We have received the most questions from this live Q&A that we've ever received before. Probably around 1,500 or more questions. And each one of your questions does very much matter to our team. I know so many of you took the time to write down your stories, and just know that our team has read every single one of them, and we appreciate every single question that you submit, especially because those of you that are interested in this work tend to be very vulnerable and very caring in the way that you show up. So I just want to lend that to you. Again, if anyone has any questions about the course, our team has linked it in the chat. So to reiterate, some of you had some questions about the content that is going to be contained in this course. If you have those questions, just click that link, because it will go through the breakdown of what's included in the course. So think of it like this, right? We have 38 videos, and those 38 videos range anywhere between 7 minutes to 45 minutes each. All ranging in different topics. We have 9 ingredients of containment. You have what's her part in the relationship. I can actually even show you what that looks like, so you have an overview. For those that want to stay longer, if you don't, thank you so much. You are free to continue on with your day, but I highly encourage anyone who's interested at all in mastering masculinity and understanding polarity and understanding what you need from a man if you're a woman in relationships. It's so, so crucial. So I'm gonna pull that up for you now. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, so if you look at this page, you are going to be able to read through all of this, right? So this is kind of like an introduction to the course. This kind of gives you some frameworks of what's going to be answered in the course. And by the way, we have 2 sales pages. One is for men and one is for women. It is the same course. We just wrote it in a way that would make it make it so that you know how the course is going to apply for you individually, because it is going to be different if you're a man versus a woman, obviously, right? So if you scroll down, you'll see the 9 essential ingredients of containment that Teal details. That's just part of it. Another very key component of it is 16 game changers, which we go through, which you can find here. So this is the entire course breakdown, right? All of the pillars that we've broken up into the 8 weeks. But relative to game changers, you'll see things like respect is something you want, so earn it. Something that will completely change the way you relate to women, the unsafety gap between men and women, speak the language of emotions, when the woman in your life brings her emotions to you, the vulnerability conundrum. It's not about the apple peel. That's one of the best ones. Don't fall for the rhetoric. That's what I spoke about earlier today. We have different women, different sexuality. The real reason women cheat. Be active, not passive. Dispelling the myth that women like assholes. Why so many women play hard to get. Have something going for you as a man. Treat her like you would want a man to treat your daughter. Speak her love languages. Good surprises are very good for women. What to do if you encounter women who resist all of this, and more. Key components of containment. If containment feels daunting, the containment gap, containing the things she loves, the bad masculine habit that destroys containment. Why women are confusing. the respect factor, compatibility matters. So this is very in-depth. Like I'm telling you, this is one of the most in-depth courses that Teal's created. I highly recommend you check it out. We do have payment plans as an option. So yeah, if you have any questions, our team will be here to answer them in the chat. We're sending the link in the chat as well. I'm going to share with you a screen so that you can see that as you can just type this into your search bar if you are not able to find it in the chat. Just www.tealswan.com/Christmas-special. And like our team is letting you know, we do have payment plans where you can pay in a 3-month period. And I want to wish you all Merry Christmas. Let us know what you are doing to celebrate this time of year. I'm gonna be playing. I'm gonna end this live Q&A with Teal's Christmas playlist. This is a playlist that she has been just having on all day since all day every day since December 1st, basically. This is a very special time of year for us, and I hope you take in the warmth and festivity as well of this 2025 so that we can get ready for 2026. All right, I think I'll leave it to you here. Again, please keep sharing your stories. We do get a lot from it. Like just from reading your questions, our team's probably going to have, 5 more Ask Teals created just from the discussions that have happened in this Q&A. So thank you so much for sharing and can't wait to see you in the future, whether it be online or in person.